Welcome to my review of Rob Zombie's 2007 remake of Halloween. The story for this is similar to Carpenter's original, at least in a broad sense. So Michael is born, he commits murder at a very early age, he gets sent to Smith's Grove for about 15 years, and then when he's an adult he escapes, goes back to Haddonfield and goes on a big killing spree on Halloween. But the details are vastly different, most notably the fact that we spend an awful long time in this film following young Michael. We get to see him walk and talk, we get to see his relationships with his mother and his sister, we see him go to school, we see him at the breakfast table, we even see him during his early days at Smith's Grove. Now this was a hugely controversial thing among the fan base at the time and still is. There are a large amount of people who think that we should never explore this stuff. You know that scene at the beginning of the original film where we see young Michael stood on the pavement with the knife like this? He's got that gormless expression on his face. I bet there's at least one person who thinks that even that is showing too much of Michael's childhood and that maybe the camera should have been behind Michael showing his back and then his parents beyond him. As to what I think of all this, I don't mind Zombie doing something different. It's the 9th film in the series. I feel the same way about Jason Goes to Hell, another controversial 9th film that veered wildly from the normal formula. It's not that I consider anything in this film to be canon. I don't need anything canon in my life. I enjoy Carpenter's film just as much as I enjoy this one. It just so happens I enjoy the Carpenter one a little bit more. But I think your ability to compartmentalize Halloween 2007 away from the rest of the series will go a long way in deciding whether this film is for you or not. At this point, let me just quickly show you the version that I'm reviewing. I've got the director's cut version on DVD. I think that's the most common version out there now. I think the theatrical version is slightly harder to find. I've never even seen the theatrical version, I'll own up to that. I did once go online and look at the subtle differences between the two cuts. The director's cut is 121 minutes, the theatrical cut is 110. I saw nothing, in all honesty, that would make me want to go out and get the theatrical version. I'm not even sure I would have watched it by now, even if it was included as an extra on my disc. There are just little things and bits and pieces about the director's cut that I wouldn't want to lose. I could understand why some people might prefer a shorter version just because it's shorter. I mean, when you're used to watching horror films that are 90-95 minutes, you know, even a 110-minute movie like the theatrical cut could take you out of your comfort zone somewhat, but I think this particular film suits being 2 hours. There's a lot to get through. Michael Myers' childhood, his time at Smith's Grove, and then we've got to have enough time left to watch Michael as an adult stalking Laurie and her friends. So any version that tried to squeeze all that into less than 2 hours would be struggling, in my opinion. Not that I've seen the theatrical version to be able to comment, but I think this story works better as a longer film anyway. It's not a traditional slasher movie. Because we follow Michael's point of view for at least half the runtime, it feels more like a human interest story, a horror drama, if you like. The other big difference between the two versions is that in the theatrical, Michael kills a bunch of security guards in order to escape Smith's Grove, whereas in the director's cut, Rob Zombie does something a bit more risque. He has this arsehole guard take this girl into Michael's cell and then rapes her in front of him, and that's when Michael uses the opportunity to escape. Now, this is a bit of a controversial scene among some fans, like this film needed any more controversy, but I think I just about prefer the rape version. Some people say that it's a bit graphic, but in all honesty, I've seen far worse rape scenes in movies. I'm not trying to downplay the seriousness of the subject matter. The reason why I like this scene is because it's sort of fun to see the security guard get his comeuppance after he's been such an arsehole to Michael. Him killing 4 security guards in the other version maybe wouldn't be as satisfying. The only thing I would have done differently is have Michael kill the girl, because he should be neutral in a scene like this, you know. He shouldn't be a hero coming to somebody's rescue. That's not really the character. So I think Zombie should have committed fully to the scene. But on the whole, I'm definitely a director's cut man. And why wouldn't you prefer any version which has Big Joe Grizzly going, "What we have here is a failure to communicate"? Yeah, I really like that character. It's one of my favourite characters. He's only in one scene of a horror movie, I think. Brilliantly played by Ken Foray. I was only talking about him the other day when I was doing my review for Leatherface Texas Chainsaw 3. So definitely an actor who's been on my radar this Christmas. I can't emphasise enough just how important I think Rob Zombie's style was to this project. I think if this new take on the character had been filmed in a really generic, by-the-numbers way, I don't think it would have endeared itself to me quite as much. But because we get all these zombie-esque touches, like the trashy dialogue and the Everybody Hurts song and the home movies. It just makes the whole thing doubly watchable and unique for me. And it's not like I'm the world's biggest Rob Zombie fan. I've still not seen all of his movies, and there's not that many of them. I've still not seen Lords of Salem, not seen Three from Hell, even though it's been out a while now, and I did enjoy the first two. I think I said this, though, in my review for 31. Every film I have seen of his, I have really liked. There's just something about his style which is for me, and I love his version of Michael Myers, played by Tyler Mane. He's just absolutely frightening. I'm not saying he's the best Michael Myers of them all. If you gave me 1 second to picture in my head what Michael Myers looks like, I'm still picturing the William Shatner mask and Tony Moran and all that, but this version is the most frightening for me. This is the one version of Michael I would absolutely not want to be trapped in a movie with. I mean, he's just brutal and rampant, and this is no better summed up than in the scene when, I think it's Laurie's parents, he kills on the doorstep. He gets the guy first just as he's walking back into the house, and then he just marches in and kills the mother as well. If this was any other Halloween film, I think Michael's letting those two get into the house, and then he's going to take a side entrance in somewhere, hide in the larder, wait for them to make coffee, then he might pop out and get one of them, and then he'll let another 10 minutes pass, and then he'll get the other one as well. But in this film, there's no messing around. He's just going to get them on the doorstep and then move on. The scene where we go from Myers as a boy to seeing him as an adult, I was thinking the first time I watched this, he's grown into that? Are you serious? The characters in this film are in for a rough ride. Speaking of characters, I absolutely love Scout Taylor Compton's performance as Laurie Strode in this film. I've seen Halloween 2007 maybe 4 or 5 times, and the first time I watched it, I didn't really notice her performance that much, because by the time I got to the second half of the film, I was still processing everything I'd seen in the first half, with it being such an out there Halloween experience. But definitely the second time I watched it, that was when I realised just how strong an actress Scout is and what she brings to this film and the one after it. If I had to name my favourite Laurie Strode performance of all time, I'm probably still going for Jamie Lee in the original, but I would put Scout's work in Rob Zombie's 2 films second and third in such a ranking, with all of Jamie Lee's other showings coming after that. So wins and losses for both actresses. Great to see Danielle Harris playing Annie. I honestly can't pick a winner between this version of Annie and the one from the original. This was probably the first time I'd seen Danielle act as an adult since seeing her in those early Halloween films she did. So great to see that she was still in the industry and that she'd fulfilled all that early promise, because I'd not given her a moment's thought in years before I saw this. It's such a deep cast on the whole, though. I've already mentioned Ken Foree, or Foree, however you pronounce it. Brad Dourif as the sheriff. What a catch that was. Malcolm McDowell, I think he's really good as Loomis. I imagine most people prefer the Donald Pleasance version, but I honestly can't split them. They're very different interpretations, but I look at it the same way as I do when it comes to Sean Connery's James Bond and Roger Moore's James Bond. 2 very different ways of playing the same character, but both equally effective. And I think if McDowell had gone on to play the role maybe 5 or 6 times like Donald Pleasance, I think people would find it more of an even contest, if you see what I mean. Sherry Moon Zombie as well, absolutely fine, I think, as Michael's mother. I don't see the bad acting in her that other people do. I mean, I get that she's not getting these roles in the traditional way because obviously she's married to Rob Zombie, but I like her acting. I've got no problem with it whatsoever. I've seen far worse actresses in my time than Sherry Moon Zombie. Most importantly, though, the third act delivers in this film. I love the showdown between Michael and Laurie in the derelict building and the little empty swimming pool place with the leaves. I like how they've moved Linda and Bob into the Myers house now, and they have sex on a mattress instead of a bed. I mean, is that trying to say something about the youth of today compared to the more respectable teenagers of the 1970s? And I like how Michael's childhood rampage has been expanded for this version. He doesn't just kill his sister, he kills her boyfriend as well. And Ronnie, a character I absolutely loved, by the way. I've not mentioned him so far. I love his dialogue. And he kills a kid at school as well. I felt so sorry for that bully by the time that he dies. And I like the shot where Michael's sister's coming down the hallway in this film, and Michael's wearing this ridiculously oversized mask, and the music kicks in. I just think that stuff was brilliant. If I had to name one negative about the movie, it would be that it takes so long for Laurie and her friends to get into the story. It's uncomfortable that every time I watch this, when they come on screen for the first time, I think to myself, whoa, where have you been for the last hour, girls? But I don't know how you would have got around that with the structure of this story. I don't. But on the whole, I love this film. I think Rob Zombie did a great job with this, and it is a unique Halloween experience that is different. When you get to this point of the series, after watching the previous 8, it's nice to see something like this. This is a really enjoyable film. So let's get to the bag of terror and find out what sort of score Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 gets. Quite a few axes in here. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5 for Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. That's an excellent score. I am a fan of the movie. I think it's really, really good. Now, I will be back next year. It is December the 30th at the time I'm filming this. I'll be back next year with a review for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.